Hello and welcome to this Actionetics walkthrough video. My name's Zimran and this is a part of my whole series of ClickFunnels training videos and review videos and everything like that. This video, as I just stated, is a walkthrough of Actionetics, which is an add-on. It's not really an add-on product, it's a part of ClickFunnels. It's available as a part of the 2.0 release, but it's only available at certain tiers of membership or subscription. Now, rather than me walk you through Actionetics, okay, as you can see, I don't have a lot of data here in my demo account and all of that, and honestly, I don't really want to walk you through my live accounts, okay? So I'm going to have Russell basically take it away and walk you through all the features so you can hear it from Russell himself, who's a big time marketer. He's at least an 8-figure earner. He's a really cool guy. He's legitimate as far as this is his business, meaning not ClickFunnels. His business is helping businesses, just like what I do as well, helping businesses create sales funnels and to maximize their ROI and multiply their income in ways that you could not even possibly imagine. So if you don't have ClickFunnels and you haven't watched any of the videos and webinars that are available on the ClickFunnels website and so forth, make sure that you avail yourself to that, even if you don't end up getting ClickFunnels, because you're going to learn things that are really critical. And make sure to watch my other videos as well, because I try as much as possible in my videos to give pearls of wisdom that come from my own personal experience and how I've derived success online and in my businesses that I have and so forth. Okay, so anyway, take it away, Russell. Thank you. This is part 1. There is a part 2 video as well, and I will come back at the end of the video just to talk a little bit more.
Actionetics is by far the biggest upgrade we've done to the ClickFunnels platform to date, and something that I've been begging developers for since day one, because I know I need it. I got so sick and tired of integrating with all these other services, right? With integrating with autoresponders and all these things. And ClickFunnels still works that way, where if you want and you have an autoresponder you love, you can go and you can integrate into ClickFunnels. But if you want something different and you want something better, that's what Actionetics is all about. Now, Actionetics is a new program, and it's going to continue to evolve over the next year to 2 years and be able to do a whole bunch of really cool things. In fact, you probably watched our little explainer video that showed you the future of where we're going and what's happening inside of ClickFunnels. And I'm pretty sure that inspired you and got you really excited. But what I'm going to do now is I want to show you what's available inside of ClickFunnels and inside of Actionetics today, because this is what you're going to have a chance to start using. So I got a really quick demo video. I'm just going to show you the basics of how to use Actionetics, okay? Because as soon as you figure out how it works, it becomes really simple. But usually, when I first started using it, I need someone to look over my shoulder and say, Russell, do this and try this, and kind of this is how it works. And so I want to do that with you really quick. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the contact profile section of Actionetics. Now, this is something that's going to keep getting cooler and cooler, because as people join any of your email lists or they buy your products, we start gathering that data and we try to find out as much as we can about that person. We want to find out what social networks they're subscribed to. We want to find out what magazines they read, how much money they make, their demographics, as much stuff as possible. And you'll see that some of these features are in Actionetics now, and some we'll be adding in the near future. But that's why this is so cool. It's that contact profiles. You can really dig deep and start seeing a lot about your people. So you first come here, obviously you'll be able to see how many contacts you have, new people who've unsubscribed. You can import contacts as well. You can search for different people if you want. And down here you can start seeing a bunch of your subscribers and your customers. So I'm going to click on one person here randomly so you can kind of see what Actionetics lets you see about that person. Okay. All right, so when I come in here, you'll notice a whole bunch of really cool things. And the first thing I want to show you over here is the action score, because this is the coolest part about Actionetics, is that we assign a score to every single person who enters into any of your funnels. And it has to do with a bunch of different things. The main things are recency, frequency, monetary value, and also their social score. So those are the 4 core things we're looking for. So this person's score right now is 50. Now, if I come over here and if I hover on any of these bands, I'll be able to see more specifically what each thing is. If I have this green band right here, is frequency. It's only 1%, which means she hasn't purchased from me very frequently. Looks like she's only purchased from me once, probably. The next band out here is now my recency score. So how recently has she interacted with me? So 94% means it was pretty recent that she actually interacted with my email or came to one of my funnels or did something, which is a good sign. Next right here is value. This is the monetary value. How much money is this person actually worth to me? So the score is pretty low at only 5.6. I mean, she hasn't purchased very often from me. And then the last one here is social, which is the 30%, which means her email address that she has used is associated with some social media accounts, which is a very important thing. We found that somebody whose email address is tied to a social media account on average is worth about 80 times as much as someone who gives you an email address that's not associated with a social media account. So that's a big one as well. So that gives us kind of an overall social score. Looks like her score right here is 22. Now over here you can see it pulls in a picture if we've got one, pulls in all our information, phone numbers, everything we have about the person, it'll show here. Then it also shows you what social networks their email address is associated with. So it's not associated with all of them, but associated with 3 here. Now if she had them with a whole bunch of other social networks, her social score would go from 30 to maybe 80 or 90 or even 100%. So that's kind of how we can see how valuable this person actually is to you. And obviously the action score kind of moves around based on what they're doing and what they're buying, and so it gives you a really good picture of what's happening. Okay, now if I come down here, I can see the contact profile. I can see when were they first seen in my funnel, when were they last seen, as much information as we can pull from them. Over here, it shows me what she's purchased. So she bought the .com Secrets book, and the affiliate that promoted it to her was Jeff Walker. I come down here, I can see if she's bought any membership sites. She's not subscribed to any of my membership sites. I can see what emails she's gotten from inside of Actionetics, and she's not getting any emails from Actionetics, looks like. And then recent activity, I can see what pages in the funnel she's hit and when she hit them. So I can kind of spy on her and see, okay, is she coming back? How often is she coming there, and what's happening? So it gives you a really good idea of what's happening with that person. And so that is kind of the cool thing about Actionetics is the contact profiles. You can see a lot more about your people, and you'll see in the near future we're building out something called Smart Lists. You'll be able to actually create different lists based on who people are. So you can say anyone that's got a social score over 50, add them to this list. Now you got a specialist. It's just based on a certain type of people that are on your list, or anyone who has purchased more than 3 times from me, add them to one of my hot buyer lists, or anyone who has interacted with me recently in the last 7 days, add them to this smart list. And so you can create really cool criteria, and then based on what we know about those people, it'll automatically add people into those lists. So smart lists are coming really, really soon. What I want to show you first though is just our basic email lists. Okay, now I want to show you how we set up email lists. Now, email lists are very similar in other software it's kind of like a tagging system. So I'm setting up different lists for all of the different types of people that I may have and different segments I have in my list, right? So for example, for me, I recently set up an affiliate list. I haven't added anyone to it yet, but I have my affiliate list. I have one of my broadcast lists where I send out my newsletter to. I also have a seed list, like creating a seed list. So every email I send out, I also send it to the seed list, and I'll show you how to do that in the broadcast section, but that way I can see what all my emails look like. I've got ones for different soap opera sequences, for my coaching application forms, different buyer lists. And so I create different lists for different things. Sometimes you create them for your buyers. Sometimes you do them for people who registered for a webinar, or people who registered for a webinar but didn't show up, or people who showed up but they left early. Or you can create lists on pretty much anything you can dream of. And so what I like doing initially when I come in here is I start thinking, what are the lists I have in my different parts of my business, right? My webinar funnels, like what different lists would I like to have in that? Maybe I want a list for anyone who's who registered and showed up for my webinar, and I want a different list of people who didn't show up. So I can go and I can create lists really, really quickly. So I'm going to create a list really quick. I'm going to call this one webinar registrant, but no show. So this person didn't show up. And then I'll tag this, call webinar demo. So I'll tag it here. And that quick, I just created a list. So lists are very, very easy to set up. So the next logical question I give people all the time is, well, now my list is set up. I got a list here. How do I get people to join that list? Like what's the trick? And so that comes back now to your funnel. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna open up the funnel section of ClickFunnels. And I'm just gonna add a really quick demo funnel for you. I'm gonna do a webinar one, and I'll do webinar replay. And I'm gonna do webinar demo, just so you guys can see how simple and how easy it is to get people added over into these lists. Okay, so here's my typical automated webinar funnel, and obviously I'm not going to build that out in this video. I just wanted to show you really quick this tab inside of ClickFunnels. You may not have used it at this point, and if you haven't used Actionetics, I want to show it to you. So if you come right here, it says automation. So what happens here in automation is when somebody comes to this page, what do you want to have happen? What kind of automation? So I click here. And by default, you'll notice that ClickFunnels builds out a whole bunch of cool emails in here for your auto webinars. But let's just say we wanted to get rid of all these emails and we didn't want to use the default ones. We want to make them very personal and we want to do it through Actionetics. So for me, typically, I go through and I just delete all these. You'll see why here in a second. So on the webinar registration page, we got some different segments. We've got everybody who registered, people who showed up but they registered but they missed the webinar, people who attended but they stayed on the webinar but they left early, and people who saw the offer but they didn't buy, and people who purchased. So these are different segments we have on an automated webinar funnel. So if you come back to Actionetics, you remember we set up a list called webinar registrants no-shows. So what I'm going to do is that right here we've got these guys registered for webinar but they didn't show up. So I'm gonna come right here, I'm gonna say add new action, and I say no shows. That'll be my thing. Condition to everyone who missed the webinar. Integrate with ClickFunnels. I'm gonna add them to a list, and what list am I gonna add them to? I'm gonna add them to this new little list we set up. Now I do create funnel action, and now when somebody registers for this page, if they register and they don't show up at the webinar, automatically ClickFunnels will immediately add them to this list. Does that make sense? Okay, if I want to do the same thing, like everyone that registers for my webinar, let's say I want to add a list. So I come back to Actionetics and I add a list, and I call it all webinar registrants. Okay, so I make a new list for everyone who registered for the webinar now. So now all registrants get it. I come back over here and then I can go and I can add a new action. I say all registrant, and then I condition this is for everyone who registered. Integration with ClickFunnels action. I'm gonna add them to a list. I'm gonna add them to my webinar registrants list. Create a funnel action, and now everyone who registers will get this action, which says add them over here to this list. Okay, and that's how simple and how easy it is. Now I can do the exact same thing on, let's say, an opt-in funnel. Okay, so let me create one really quick. We'll do it really fast. If I create a basic opt-in funnel, and I come right here, I'm gonna build the funnel. Now typically, when you, let's see if I can find one really quick. All right, typically when I'm building an opt-in page, right, and I want to integrate the email autoresponder, I do that inside of the ClickFunnels editor, right? If you've done it before, if you've done Aweber or GetResponse or MailChimp or one of the other ones, when you're in the editor, you go and you select email integration and you integrate it here, right? But I don't have to do that here inside of Actionetics. I just come straight to the automation tab, and I say when anybody subscribed, when someone comes here and they put their email address in, I click on add new action. Join my list, say everybody, and then what list I want to add them to. I'm going to add them to my .com secret soap opera sequence. Let's say I create a new funnel action. Now anybody who comes to this page here, as soon as they do that, they will automatically be added to, as soon as they opt in, they'll be added to my list. So that's kind of how we go and we get people now to join all of these different email lists that we built here. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to send an email broadcast to any of these lists. And the last thing I'm going to show you now is how to make it when someone joins this list, how do I send out a sequence of emails? So I say email 1, send out this, email 2, send out this, email 3, send out this text message, email 4, take them off this list, but add them to this list. And you can do a whole bunch of really cool things I'll show you guys in the next 2 videos.
So that was part 1 of the walkthrough. There is part 2 as well, so make sure to watch the second part as well, which goes over the second half of Actionetics. Okay, make sure to watch all of my other videos. Okay, but again, just make sure to click on my links and subscribe and like and all of that fun stuff. Okay, so I want to know what you think, and I want to help you out, and what can I say? Thank you.